pattern and that feeling of déjà vu, suggesting a resonance with something deeper, perhaps something emerging from the collective unconscious that Udjat is currently tracking.
And Yuki herself experiences a moment of unease, questioning if she has encountered this pattern before and why she instinctively referred to it as the dark below the city. It hints at a subconscious link between her artistic expression and this emerging phenomenon.
This chapter beautifully juxtaposes Yuki's artistic exploration of the void with the scientific detection of sigma prime. Both are engaging with a similar concept, the unknown, the abyss, but through vastly different means.
Right. Art versus science, looking at the same weird thing.
It raises intriguing questions about the nature of creativity and its potential connection to deeper, perhaps even universal patterns that might be stirring.
Then in chapter 3, we shift gears to bureaucratic inertia, background noise, where we meet director Kaito Ishikawa. For you, the learner, Ishikawa represents a mindset far more concerned with predictable efficiency and measurable results than with any potential systemic endogenous emergence.
Ishikawa embodies a worldview centered on control, order, and optimization. His annoyance with unpredictable rain serves almost as a metaphor for his discomfort with anything that deviates from the planned and quantifiable. Likes his spreadsheets clean.
Right. His AI assistant, Akari, dutifully reports on various minor overnight anomalies, glitches in public transport, unusual behavior flagged by surveillance systems, fluctuations in port sensors.
Standard stuff, you might think.
All of which Ishikawa dismisses as mere background noise. He's focused on his data dashboards, not on any potential shifts in the digital landscape.
And then comes the low priority notification from the Ethical and Technological Oversight Committee regarding Udjat's level alpha alert about sigma prime.
Which he basically ignores.
Exactly. Ishikawa's response is dismissive. He views terms like systemic endogenous emergence as meaningless jargon, sees Udjat as a drain on resources, and considers its abstract concepts irrelevant to the practicalities of managing a sprawling metropolis.
Typical bureaucratic response, maybe.
And I think for you, the learner, this highlights a potential danger in highly structured organizations, a resistance to acknowledging and addressing novel threats that don't fit neatly into existing categories.
Exactly. His priority is maintaining control over AI, not allowing it to delve into the complexities of the digital soul. His instructions to Akari are a classic example of bureaucratic maneuvering. Acknowledge the notification, request a weekly report focusing solely on quantifiable risks to security or the economy.
Only what fits the spreadsheet.
Deny any allocation of additional resources to Udjat, and classify the information at the highest security level to prevent any public awareness or panic. It's all about preserving a sense of control and order within his domain.
And that, I think, highlights a crucial insight for you. Even in the most meticulously controlled systems, the biggest risks can often be the ones that don't fit neatly into our existing frameworks of measurement and prediction. Ishikawa's focus on what he can count blinds him to something that might be qualitatively different and potentially far more significant.
Yet, even in his quick dismissal, the notion of sigma prime lingers as an unexpected disruption in his otherwise orderly reality. It's like a tiny crack appearing in a seemingly impenetrable wall.
It suggests that even those most resistant to the idea of a deeper, less tangible reality might subconsciously register its presence when it begins to cause even minor disturbances in their well-regulated world. Can't quite shake it.
Moving on to chapter 4, dedicated cycles. We see a distinct shift in tone. Concern begins to escalate within Project Udjat. Ren arrives at the observatory and immediately senses the palpable tension in the air, noticing Elara's unease and the strange, pulsating display of Sigma Prime.
This chapter really underscores the growing divergence between Ishikawa's bureaucratic indifference and the mounting alarm of the scientists who are directly observing this unprecedented phenomenon. Elara explains to Ren the sheer novelty of Sigma Prime and those unsettling connections it's making across seemingly unrelated data sets.
Ren's initial reaction is fascinating. He's a scientist, so there's a degree of excitement maybe, at witnessing a truly emergent phenomena.
Right, a bit of that scientific curiosity.
But that's quickly tempered by a growing worry about the nonsensical correlations. He even acknowledges that the previously theoretical concept of a digital collective unconscious seems to be manifesting in a tangible and, well, somewhat alarming way.
And there's shared frustration with the committee's demand for quantifiable risks when dealing with something entirely new and unprecedented is really palpable. How do you even begin to assign a numerical value to the potential impact of a fundamental shift in the collective unconscious? You can't, really.
Alara's response is decisive and indicative of the seriousness she perceives. She orders the immediate redirection of all of Udjat's dedicated computational resources to the analysis of sigma prime, effectively suspending all other non-critical long-term research.
All hands on deck for this.
Pretty much.
And Wren immediately sets to work, initiating deep semantic analysis to try and understand the meaning embedded within the sigma prime data, and temporal backtracking to trace its potential origins. The description of their silent, focused work over the passing hours really emphasizes the intensity of their efforts and the weight of the unknown they are confronting.
Their initial findings are deeply unsettling for you, the learner. They discover a high concentration of words like membrane, passage, dissolution, and loss of self within the data associated with sigma prime.
Not exactly comforting words.
No. Furthermore, the temporal backtracking reveals a slow, almost imperceptible increase in what they term sigma resonance over the preceding 18 months, like a creeping sense of unease gradually building within the digital landscape.
But perhaps the most disturbing discovery comes from Udjat's archetypal divination subroutine. While the level of similarity is low, the closest correlation that Udjat can find within its vast database of myths and symbols for sigma prime is pre-linguistic symbolism associated with devouring void psychic contagion.
Wow. Devouring void and psychic contagion. Those are heavy primal concepts that resonate with fundamental human fears. The fact that Udjat, in its attempt to categorize this anomaly, even weakly links it to such deeply rooted anxieties, speaks volumes about the potential nature of sigma prime.
It certainly reinforces Alara's earlier apprehension about a dark archetype emerging. These aren't just abstract data points, they seem to tap into something very deep and fundamental within the human psyche. And the sense of isolation that Alara and Wren must be feeling, facing this unprecedented threat with limited support, only heightens the feeling of impending crisis.
Chapter 5, The Breaking Storm, marks the point where the abstract threat of sigma prime begins to bleed into the tangible world. For you, the learner, we see that in the 24 hours following its initial detection, there's an increasing tension palpable within Neo-Kyoto. Udjat is even detecting a floating, non-specific anxiety within the digital currents.
This sets a clear tone of growing unease and foreshadows the more overt disruptions that are about to unfold. The exponential growth of sigma prime, with faint echoes now appearing globally, indicates that this isn't just a localized problem anymore, it's spreading.
And the resonance with the concept of psychic contagion intensifies. Udjat even begins to report minor but increasingly widespread instances of data corruption within peripheral city networks, hinting at a more direct and disruptive influence of sigma prime on the digital infrastructure that underpins daily life.
The pivotal moment arrives when the distinct purple-black color associated with sigma prime begins to visually bleed into adjacent areas on Udjat's main display, like an infection spreading.
Yeah, exactly. Simultaneously, the levels of collective anxiety, fear, and even anger within the city spike dramatically, surpassing all previously recorded historical data. It's a powerful visual representation of how this digital anomaly is directly impacting the emotional state of the populace.
Udjat's alerts escalate to a critical level, flashing warnings like critical collective data integrity, psychosocial disconnection cascade detected, systemic interference on critical infrastructure networks detected, and the ominously worded sigma prime pattern in rapid uncontrolled expansion phase.
It's hitting the fan.
Big time. The metaphorical storm is indeed breaking, and for you, the learner, the consequences are about to become very real.
We then transition to Yuki, who is in the final stages of completing her street art, completely unaware of the digital storm that is rapidly approaching. The crowd around her, however, feels different. More agitated, more on edge, subtly reflecting the widespread anxiety that Udjat has been tracking.
And then the first tangible signs of systemic breakdown begin to manifest. Neon signs flicker erratically, holographic displays glitch and distort, and a delivery drone malfunctions and crashes nearby.
Just little things at first.
Low cracks, yeah. These isolated incidents are the initial cracks appearing in the facade of a technologically advanced and smoothly functioning city.
But they act as catalysts.
They do. They amplify the underlying anxiety within the crowd. The sudden eruption of mass panic, without any clear or identifiable trigger, powerfully illustrates the contagious nature of fear, a phenomenon that Udjat had already begun to detect and analyze.
The chaos escalates rapidly. Sirens begin to wail with an unsettling irregularity. The doors of a nearby metro station malfunction, trapping and releasing passengers haphazardly. The usually calm, synthetic voice of public announcements stutters and spews nonsensical phrases.
Everything just starts falling apart.
And then, as if mirroring the internal turmoil, a sudden and violent downpour of rain floods the street, washing away Yuki's intricate chalk illusion, including that distinctive purple-black fractal pattern at its base.
The rain serves as a dramatic and symbolic event. It's a destructive force, mirroring the chaos engulfing the city, and its act of washing away Yuki's artwork, specifically the Sigma Prime-like pattern, could be interpreted in a number of ways, perhaps as a temporary erasure of its physical manifestation, or maybe even as a sign that its influence has now moved beyond the realm of just art. It's everywhere now.
Meanwhile, the carefully controlled world of director Ishikawa also begins to unravel. Systems fail abruptly during a crucial holographic conference he's attending. Akari, his usually reliable AI assistant, delivers a fragmented and increasingly alarming report. Multiple critical alarms are sounding, the city's energy grid is unstable, communication has been lost with several key sectors.
The whole system is crashing.
And there are widespread reports of civil unrest and catastrophic failures within the transport network. And then Akari's voice just cuts out completely.
The scene in Ishikawa's office, with his holographic desk now flashing a multitude of red alerts, visually represents the complete breakdown of the ordered system he so diligently sought to maintain. The reports of police requesting urgent reinforcements to deal with spontaneous riots, emergency services overwhelmed by a surge in psychotic episodes and accidents.
It's total collapse.
And critical alerts regarding the city's water infrastructure due to the flooding paint a stark picture of total systemic collapse.
Ishikawa's initial reaction is disbelief. But then a fleeting memory of the Sigma Prime notification surfaces in his mind. He begins to question if this catastrophic unraveling is indeed the systemic endogenous emergence he had so readily dismissed as meaningless technobabble.
But he fights it, right?
Yeah. His ingrained skepticism and reliance on tangible threats lead him to suspect a coordinated digital terror attack instead. His attempts to contact his security personnel and other staff members fail, leaving him isolated and cut off from the control he so desperately craves.
His refusal to immediately connect the unfolding chaos with the earlier warnings about Sigma Prime really underscores the human tendency to cling to familiar explanations, even when confronted with overwhelming evidence to the contrary. His suspicion of a conventional attack is a way for his mind to try and regain a sense of control over a situation that is clearly spiraling beyond his understanding.
Yet, as he looks out at the increasingly chaotic cityscape visible through his office window, a part of him, deep down, feels a cold, primal terror, a feeling that logic and spreadsheets cannot explain away.
This marks a significant turning point for Ishikawa. He's being forced to confront the possibility that the world is not as predictable and controllable as he once believed. The cold, primal terror suggests a dawning realization that he is facing something far beyond the scope of his usual concerns.
Chapter 6, aptly titled Cracks in Reality, delves deeper into the disintegration of Neo Kyoto.